Cubs beat the Brewers yesterday finally by a score of 5-3. Justin Steele, another quality start, and he had some choice words for the Cubs dugout after that rough fourth inning. That and more on the Cubs baseball channel, including Ian Happ playing the hero again. Make sure to like and subscribe, get in the comment section. Let us know how you're feeling about this team as we recap a win, which feels like don't come around all that often. Here is your invitation to our show. What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs baseball channel. My name is Anthony Pasquale with the great Mick Gillespie. He's on Twitter at Broadcaster Mick, and I'm on Twitter at Ant_Pasquale3. Important to note, Cubs baseball channel is now on Twitter. You can find us there, Cubs_channel. We're going to be tweeting during the games, posting some highlights, giving some of our thoughts. So if you can't find us on YouTube, definitely catch us on Twitter. Build up that page so we can broadcast some of our thoughts on there as well. Mick, we're on Twitter. It's pretty exciting, right?
Yeah, nice, man. I mean, it's about time, right? I mean, we're climbing the mountain of this social media world, so watch out. We might tell the truth on there, and who knows? But today, at least we got a win today, and I'll tell you what. I mean, you said it before we even went on the air. A win right now feels like a week worth of wins from last year.
Yeah, exactly. The Cubs beat the Brewers yesterday 5-3. A ton to get into from that game, and we'll get into that in just a second. But I want to start with this. News broke after the game that 11 fans were injured in an elevator malfunction at American Family Field after the game. 6 were rushed to the hospital with non-threatening injuries. The other 5 were handled by the local EMTs that were on site at the game. But that's pretty scary, huh?
Yeah, it reminded me of a situation that was in Baltimore years ago. And, the great Father Carl, who's kind of my mentor, really like my dad, priest in Boca Raton, but he was from Baltimore where I was when I was a kid. And he reminded me that, this year was the anniversary of the death of somebody that was at an Orioles game and had an escalator accident, and it's like, man, you go to these games to have a good time, and then something tragic happens and it sticks with you. And I'll tell you, the great Brooks Robinson right there with Ron Santo, Mike Schmidt, and is the best third baseman ever, never forgot that family. And I love to hear those stories where the guys that are out on the field realize like how important the people that are at the game are and are at the games, and do something for those families. So I hope that, that people are injured, but they get over it. It's nothing, like that situation back. And I think it was like the 60s or 70s, but it's always scary. And the fans make the games, man. I mean, you guys that are out there, you go to the games, Cubs fans are the best. There's no doubt about it, but the fans in general go out, pay the money, cheer,
Mm-hmm.
Make it like where guys like us can sit around here and talk about it. And those players can play a kid's game every day. They're special. The fans are special. And I hate to hear this.
Yeah, absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers with those people. The good news is the reports are that they are okay, which is great news. Hopefully that stays the same and something like that is avoided in the future at American Family Field. But let's get into the game. We'll start with the starting pitcher. Justin Steele turned in another quality start. Still no W in that win column, but he's still pitching well. It's been about a month or so of quality starts, pitching deep into ball games. But the Cubs defense really let him down in the middle of that game. In the bottom of the third and the fourth inning, got a little rough. And he had these words to say to the Cubs bench when he came off the field. We're not going to say the word. We're just going to use the capital letter there. Wake the F up. He said that screaming to the bench. It was kind of that spark of fire that we haven't seen out of any of these guys, let alone the manager over this rough stretch. It felt like a long time coming, and it really felt like for Steele that those emotions were building up for quite some time.
I know him. I love him. Great guy.
Yeah.
really smart baseball player. But if you guys hung out with him, you ran into him at a bar or at a restaurant or whatever, he's a fantastic person and he cares a lot. And the Cubs needed someone to do that, someone to take their foot and shove it right up their, backsides. Watching Christopher Morel, as you said on here, F up the rundown where he's out of position on the rundown play irritated me so much. And it was like one of those situations where the Cubs had an easy out, they had a 2-0 lead. And then from that point on, there was real trouble for that team. But you know what? Maybe this is the turnaround spot. Maybe he's the guy who said, hey, I'm not putting up with this anymore. We have to take our game to the next level. And by him saying that in this situation, turning it around and then leading to a victory, I hope, and I think all of you guys do too, that this is the moment that we've been waiting for with this team.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Morel. The defense has just been so unacceptable, and it's about time these starters got fed up because they've been turning in 6 innings, 7 innings, 3 runs, 2 runs, giving the team a really good chance to win. And the defense or the offense or the bullpen hasn't been able to pick up their end of the bargain. So it was really nice to see Steele finally show some emotion and get on the team. Obviously, it turned into a W. A lot of people on Twitter are saying that this could be what sparks the eventual run from the Cubs. I'd love it if that's the case, but I don't want to get too far ahead of it. But fact of the matter is they won yesterday. And aside from Steele's strong outing, a big reason why was Ian Happ playing hero again. I saw a recent tweet from Bleacher Nation that despite all the Cubs struggles, Ian Happ is a top 10 clutch hitter in baseball. And he sure has proved it over the last week. It seems like whenever the Cubs are in a tie game and they need a big hit, here comes Ian Happ with a 2-run homer. It happens every couple of games, it feels like. He's up to 11 now on the year. And this was one of the biggest ones, a 2-run jack to give the Cubs the lead. And it was a lead they eventually hung on to. So Ian Happ gets to be the hero.
Look back at all the Cubs wins. I mean, and there aren't many of them. Look back at him. Like he's always,
yeah.
And I talked about this before here. He's always a part of whatever they do to win a game.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that comes up with the big hits. Think about the extra inning win in San Francisco. Go back. Like there's not many wins that the Cubs have lately, and they don't have many wins lately that he hasn't come up with a big hit. And I know a lot of people are like, well, he's overpaid and this and that, and look, I'm not going to sit here and wave the Ian Happ flag, but I'll tell you what, without him, you think it's bad now? Oh man. I mean, like this could be like White Sox bad.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mentioned that he gave the Cubs the lead that they eventually held on to. Hector Neris got the save. It was his 11th of the season and his 100th in his major league career. So congratulations to him. But it makes me ask, is he back into that closer role? Because they kind of pulled him out of it for about 10 days, 2 weeks. We saw Colton Brewer get a save. Porter Hodge got a save. Keegan Thompson got a save. But Neris pitched the 10th in the tie game the other day, got the win. And now he pitched the 9th and got the save yesterday. He's starting to get back into that circle of trust. And it still has been heart attack.
I mean, it's not like there's any options.
True.
I mean, it's not like you got like 5 or 6 guys you can count on, not even 3 guys you can count on. Like it's like basically who's hot. I mean, some of those close games that you get the lead and you're just throwing like rookies out there or guys that aren't any good, like Colton Brewer, but you got to rely on them. And it would be great if Neris took the job and ran with it. It would be great if he became a story here, where he got the job done, because the Cubs have 2 weeks to get this together. Or if I'm the front office, I'm sending asses to other places. I'm getting out of this. Like I look at this roster and I'm going, you know what? I'm just tired of it. I don't get hot again and then, not make the playoffs. Like, don't give me any fool's gold, like either be a contender or don't be a contender. But it's typical Cubs. Like these guys will win the next 14 out of 16 so that we can't trade them away. And then we end up in a game out at the end. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But I hope Neris figures it out, because I'm all about winning baseball, even if it does that, because it's more fun. But I just think that this bullpen is so bad right now there's not any other options, and that you just have to rely on Neris because you really don't have any other choice.
Yeah, exactly. And this Cubs bullpen was really bad last year about this time too. And then all of a sudden, it all started to click. Adbert Alzolay had like 22 straight saves in July and August, and that was part of the Cubs' hot streak. Like obviously, the offense and Bellinger got going, but they started to rely on Mark Leiter Jr., Julian Merriweather, and Adbert Alzolay to lock games down. And if you could get some collection of Porter Hodge and Luke Little and Keegan Thompson and Leiter and Merriweather once they're healthy, and Neris to become reliable, that could make a hot stretch that much easier to come by. But the one thing that could also stop a potential hot stretch, the Cubs' struggles that continue on the base paths and defensively. And the big thing of bringing in Craig Counsell was supposed to make one-run games easier to win because he's a really good manager. And part of winning one-run games is making plays in the field and not running into outs on the bases. And the Cubs have been terrible at that this year.
How many outs are there, Cody Bellinger? You know, where are you supposed to be, Christopher Morel? And I take up for Christopher Morel. I think he's gotten better at third base. But the one thing that I've always said about him, and it's still true today, is that he does something every game to help you lose. You know, whether he's out of position on a rundown or he makes an error or a base running mistake, and he's got to get out of that because you watch Milwaukee play. They're playing with less talent, but they just play a cleaner brand of baseball.
Right.
They make you beat them every night. Cubs beat them last night. But when you make a mistake, they get one home run 2 nights ago and they win the game because of it, right? Because it's a grand slam. And that's because, you walked a guy, you made you kicked the ball around, get a lucky hit, and then a guy hits a grand slam and you give up 4 runs all in one swing, So Morel's got to get Morel. It's either going to be figure it out for Morel or trade Morel with the rest of these guys, because at some point, this has been a 2-year plus experiment. What we see is consistent mistakes, and I don't blame Craig Counsell for this. I mean, look at his organization. He's been with us like not even a full year. You look at them, they run the bases the right way. Their organization does the small things. They move runners. They understand how to win a game. It's not all about analytics like, okay, I can't throw this many pitches because my arm's going to blow off. They just go out and get the wins.
Right.
And honestly, at the end of the day, if Jed and his staff get fired, it's because they rely so much on analytics. At the end of the day, these are human beings that are playing this game. You got to let them go out there and play the game. Win today and then worry about tomorrow. It's Major League Baseball. Pulling guys out because of pitch counts and all of that stuff puts you in a spot that you're in right now. And I love when they sit there and they're like, well, we expect to get more out of these guys. Okay, well, guess what? We were in the same exact spot last year. You didn't make the playoffs, right? So, I mean, come on, man. Like, it's the same stuff. It's just this year instead of last year, except they're just worse this year.
Yeah, I'm sick of hearing Counsell after the game saying we need to be better or we need to score more runs. I think Jameson Taillon said it really well after his start 2 nights ago when he said things have to change or things are going to change. Like, they got to figure this out or some guys are going to be in new locker rooms in about a month. And that's just the fact of the matter. I think they're starting to know that now, which is right about when they started to realize it last year and they got hot. It's really looking like a mirror image of last season. Hopefully it could have a better ending. But as it stands right now, the Cubs are 10.5 games behind the Brewers after yesterday's win. A win today would make it 9.5. Here's a quick look at the NL wild card. The Cubs still 4 games back of a spot. A lot of teams playing good baseball above them. The Mets, the Cardinals, the Padres are all red hot right now. The Cubs have a lot of opportunities to jump those 3 teams ahead of them, the Reds, the Nationals, and the Pirates. They play them a bunch down the stretch. But the Cubs are done with the Giants and the Mets, who are above them right now. And they're above them because they played them. So the Cubs didn't fare too well against either team. Those teams will have a tiebreaker over the Cubs should they end up tied. And it matters toward the end of the season. But that's how the NL wild card looks right now. According to FanGraphs, the Cubs have a 10.8% chance to make the playoffs and a 3.5% chance to win the division. If you would have told me on May 1st that that's the case, I would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah. Well, and maybe look, sometimes just a guy breaking decorum like Justin Steele, where he's just tired of it, and says something, hey, get your heads out of your butts, like basically saying, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. It's someone that the team respects.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that gets things turned around, and I hope that's the case. I've said it before, and I still say it. This team needs a brawl. This team needs a fist fight. They need to go out there and have somebody disrespect them, and those guys stand up as a team. And I don't want to see anyone get hurt, but sometimes, man, in this game, when you have a team that plays like a dead fish, you got to get something that brings the team together. Does this team have talent? I look at that Milwaukee crew and I compare it to what the Cubs are sending out there, and I'm baffled by the fact that you're losing to these guys day in and day out. They're in
Exactly.
first and you're in last or second to last or whatever it is. It's not even the place. It's not even the record. It's how crappy the Cubs play on a
Mm-hmm.
daily basis. It's watching a rundown where Christopher Morel is nowhere near where he's supposed to be. You learn how to run a pickle when you start playing baseball. Somebody's got to get back to the bag. He's nowhere near where he's supposed to be. And then the other thing is you're supposed to chase the guy back to the base that's not the base they want to go to, the base that they don't want to go to. So basically, you got to chase that guy back to second to make the play. Steele was the only one in that whole stanza that did anything right. And to me, it just really solidified my feelings on this team right now. They're just not getting it done. They just aren't. But they did win a game, win again today, and let's get this thing going. Let's get the percentages up. But if I'm the Cubs front office, I'm looking real hard at this seller's market, and I'm saying, you know what? I might be able to get something for Seiya. A lot of teams, I'm hearing now 3 teams are interested in Belly, whether the Yankees, Phillies, and the Texas Rangers. Who knows who else is in there?
Right.
Trade, sell, and get rid of these guys. And let's bring up the young guys and let them play, unless these guys can pull off the same miracle that they did last year. And I doubt they'll be able to, but I hope they do.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, you got about 2 weeks to get that done because that's about when you need to make that decision to buy or sell. Could Justin Steele's display of emotion be the match that lights the fire? We'll see. We're both hoping so, but we're definitely not going to put our money on it quite yet. But the Cubs play the Brewers today at 1:10, a day game at American Family Field. Their last time in Milwaukee, it's June 30th, and this is their last game in Milwaukee. They will not play in Milwaukee until potentially the playoffs, if that ends up coming to fruition. So the Cubs' last representative on the mound in Milwaukee is none other than veteran Kyle Hendricks, 1-5 on the season with a 6.87 ERA that has been steadily declining from that 10, I think 12 at one point. He's down to a 6.87, 2 really good starts in a row, and they're up against the Brewers' now ace Freddie Peralta. 5-4 on the year with a 4.03 ERA. These are 2 pitchers that both teams have seen an awful lot over their careers. So as you would expect, some of the guys have really good numbers against each guy. Some of the guys don't have such good numbers. But I'm taking a look at the Cubs against Peralta. Bellinger's been really good against him. Happ's been really bad against him. Horner's been okay. And actually Amaya's been okay against him. And then on the Brewers side of things, William Contreras and Christian Yelich have been pretty good against Kyle. Everybody else has faced their fair share of struggles against the professor. So hopefully school's in session today. What do you think?
Let's go. Let's go. Kyle's proven me wrong. So maybe this team will prove me wrong like he has. Keep proving me wrong, dude. I want to see it. I thought you were done and washed up. And every time you go out there and pitch well, it's one of those deals where I'm like, hey, this is why you go out there and play the game, because you're going against every conventional logic on the game of baseball. And I love it. I love the fact that you're proving people wrong, because we all want you to do that. We want to see you successful. Beat those guys today. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. The Cubs have not won 3 in a row since a stretch from April 23rd to April 26th. They've won 2 in a row just twice against the Brewers back-to-back, against the White Sox, which I'm not counting, and then against the Giants. So 3 times since April have they won 2 games in a row. Got to win today to give us a chance at 3 next week, a long homestand over the holiday, but got to win today, and Kyle's the guy to get it done. For Mick, I'm Anthony. Thank you guys for listening to the show. We will be back tomorrow to hopefully discuss a Cubs win. But for now, jump in that comment section. Let us know if you think Justin Steele's display of emotion is going to be what it takes to get this team to go on a hot stretch. But like, subscribe, ring that bell. And for now, we will talk to you tomorrow. Go Cubs.